Hey guys, I was thinking about starting a video restoring this old Trek touring bike, but then I accidentally had to go buy the Goodwill bins, and they accidentally had a bike I wanted to buy. And I have too many bikes, I can't even walk to the shop. By shop, I mean my laundry room. And I looked at it and I was like, no, I'll pass. And I was like, oh wait, this is the nice Schwinn with the real 10X Columbix tubing. It's like the SLX, it's like their best tubing. Like when I was a frame builder, I used this tubing all the time. Tons of frame builders still use this tubing all the time. It's wonderful. These bikes ride amazing. I've had several of them over the years and loved them. And I was like, okay, tubing's cool. And then I accidentally looked down and noticed these pedals. These are the Sun Tour, like XC Pro, like BMX mountain bike bear trap pedals that are worth between like $150 and $200. And I went, oh, crap. I guess I have to buy it, even if I only break even on these pedals, whatever. And then I accidentally looked at the brake levers. So look at the brakes, they're the old Diacomps. Look at the levers, I think they might be the old Diacomps. They have the new hoods. But no, they're Campy Novo Record and the nice Drillium ones. And they're not even all wrecked and scuffed up. I was like, uh-oh. And it's got Shimano 600, like tricolor down tube shifters, Cyclone front derailleur, 105, like 8-speed rear derailleur. I'm like, okay. Then I noticed it's got a turbo, a white turbo saddle. The guy who built this bike looks like it got built, had like 10 miles put on it, and then put away in the garage for 10 years, and then donated to Goodwill. Did the white bar tape, he did the white saddle, and he grossly, for some reason, spray painted the crappy old cheapy Schwinn wheels white as well. So there's a barely used set of, $15 tires on it, but someone will be stoked to have some 27-inch tires in good shape for real cheap. Maybe even the wheels, maybe there's nothing wrong with them, they'll be fine for somebody. So I bought this bike, and I think the frame's my size. It's Prelude, Schwinn Prelude. Well, maybe I'll build a new basket bike for myself, because sometimes it's nice to have old road bikes. Instead of fat mountain bikes, they have more racy geometry. They just feel a little lighter, nimbler, and faster. And my favorite bikes in the entire world are 27-inch wheel Japanese bikes. Because you can fit 700 by 32 wheels and fenders with no clearance issues. You can still have a nice fat tire on a nimbly, fast-feeling road bike. It is a wonderful place to be. So I'm going to strip this thing down and part it out, and then we'll see if I end up doing something with this frame. Start with these expensive-ass pedals. Yeah, check these guys out. 9/16 by 20. Chromo axles. Ooh, a little roundedness, and it's got the Allen head. It's early. And it's got the patent Sun Tour XC2 Japan. I've never owned a set of these pedals before. I've never even seen a set of these pedals before, other than, on my friends' for sale pages. They're often missing the dust caps. The dust caps are not terribly expensive. This one's even nicer. So yeah, if you see these Sun Tour pedals, they're worth some dough. They're also kind of cool. I thought about cleaning up, put on the orange bike. If I wanted to spend $1 zillion parting together a group for that bike, I would. And there's a goofy spray painted white thing with some big rubber grommet. And then Presta valves and a Schrader rim. Whatever Shimano freewheel, maybe replace that too, and it's all brand new and nice. Like all the rest of the parts on here. Oh, that hub feels like crap. It is so over tight. And maybe has a bunch of random spacers in here and plier marks on it. I wonder if he re-spaced this out. Knowing the frame spacing is always a real good place to start. All these old bikes are 126, some really old ones are 120 or less. Yeah, this is 128 or 9. More modern road bikes are like 130 until disc, and now 135. This is basically 130. It might have been cold set. That's where you stretch the frame out. There's a lot of ways of doing it. Honestly, sometimes you can just grab it and manhandle it, or hold this side and just push a little bit. And you can do the string test, or get like a frame alignment gauge and check your distances and see which side needs to be pushed. Guys have used 2x4s through the frame so you can leverage off the head tube and C tube and push out, but I've definitely kinked things and done weird things that way. My favorite method was to clamp the frame on a frame alignment table, which I use as a frame builder, and then you can get real accurate measurements and use the big giant park like bending tool for straightening fork blades and rear ends and just but you know, if you don't have that stuff, you're just working in a laundry room or your basement, you really can just hold and push. Do the other side, hold and push, and honestly on most bikes, unless they're crazy heat-treated tubes or something, or aluminum, they'll usually push out a few millimeters without killing yourself, and it's not too hard to get them even. Guess we should check and see if it's dead, because if it's like as brand new as those tires, I really might save it and use it again. Yeah, this chain is brand new, so I'm gonna see about saving it, because maybe that freewheel's new, maybe I can match them, maybe I can reuse them on this build if I make myself a little basket bike. I did, months and months ago, buy an aluminum Trek that had a VO bar, like upright E conversion thing done to it. I don't care about old aluminum frames. Neither does anybody else. God, maybe I'll just do a frame swap and swap all that stuff onto this bike. Make it my city bike. Sun Tour, Shimano, random mismatch of upgraded parts. Cool old Sun Tour Cyclone derailleur. Not chewed up at all, the chrome's still good, just a little bit of dirt. It's got a built-in cable stop, that's important on some bikes that don't have cable stops. Yeah, this is great, this is so nice, might clean up it on eBay. Whoa! These Shimano 600 derailleur shifters have like a little cap to hide the cable heads. I don't think I've ever seen a set of these with that tapped. Little like 8-speedy 105 rear derailleur, a little short cage, but look at this. It's like got a couple of scratches, but it's not scuffy. It's never been wrecked. No road rash. A little bit of chain rub, but barely any. Pulleys are still good. This thing's fine. Yeah, it's covered in years of dust from sitting in someone's garage unridden for a decade. It's kind of my favorite kind of bikes. Garage finds or barn finds. So I stopped to drop this front wheel out to do a little how-to video on how the Schwinn lawyer lips work, because they're built into the wheel on Schwinn's, and a way better design, but a little weird if you've never seen them before. And then I realized this is the nice Tongay fork, the wheel dropouts. I look up and it's got a Schwinn Chicago head badge with real screws. Oh, maybe that was added later, or maybe this isn't a made in Japan one. Maybe this is a weird late Schwinn Chicago bike. Who knows? I'll do a little investigating and see. This guy definitely did a lot of rebuild on this bike. He might have done something weird with that badge. Shift plate's in right. They can only go in two ways. It's got the fancy little indexy nub, and you want it to go up towards the head tube. Put them in down. Wow. This has like a plastic guide on the bottom of it too, instead of just going straight through. And that's to make it smoother too. You can see this is the little cable heads. I wonder if he bought these shifters new old stock. There's not a scratch on them. If he bought the shifters new old stock and they came with these cables. See if I push up on them, that thing kind of pops right out. Yeah, it is a weird little clip. A little clip-on guide. So a screwdriver. You can see the little flap for a small screwdriver. Some styles have pins or made to thread in. These ones don't really have threads, like a big fake thread. First, let's check this old bottom bracket. And it's got a little bit of play. Almost all the way around, except for one spot. Who knows if it's original? Its crank's been changed. Careful not to drag my knuckles across the chainring like I've done so many times. Not being careful. Thinking you can punch it down with all leverage to bust this nut free and aim away from the rings, and you can't. Unless you're really being mindful. And I know I might seem a little crazy that I'm all over bikes. I never work on one thing at a time, because I don't really see them as complicated separate systems anymore. I see them as one cohesive thing, so it can start and stop anywhere in the middle of any project on any part. So I've done a zillion teardowns and a zillion builds. So right in the middle of pulling the cranks, I just want to check in and see the frame size because I'm curious. Oh yeah, babe. It's like a 57 to center, 59 to top. It's about my size. 57 top tube. It's pretty hot. Gonna use my Nishiki dead tube. This is in so tight. I'm gonna cheater bar it up a little bit. I'm gonna hold this crank to the frame and pull. Oh, that cheater bar just makes life so much easier. So easy. I'm not even using it all the way out here. I'm only using them just a few more inches. It's barely a few more inches to make life easy. If it was really tight, I could hold it all the way out here. But again, cheater bars aren't safe and stuff. You should never use them, even though I've used them a million times, never had a problem. Vintage SR Sake SX cranks. Nothing special. It's alloy rings. Tapers look fine. You gotta be careful when you get old bikes. They've had a hard life. You have no idea how many hundreds of mechanics have touched them. Maybe 0, maybe a dozen, maybe 2 or 3 of those knew what they were doing, maybe 2 or 3 of them didn't. And they can clamp things in vices and stretch them out and blow stuff out and make all your problems worse. Yeah, the bottom bracket's Shimano. I bet this thing had 105 or 600 from the factory. I don't know if I want to bang on it. The seat post hanging out this far. That's crazy. I don't know if you noticed, but the seat post is so tall. These finished posts, it's probably minimum height's like down here. It's a good way to damage your frame, crack your lug. See about making this thing safe to hammer on. Move the seat up so that there's inches and inches of posts in here supporting this thin ass tube. So hopefully I don't break anything if I start hammering on it. Yes, tricolor Shimano 600 bottom bracket. And if the spindle's in good shape, this is a very cool thing. Now the brakes are probably going to leave the frame. They're made for this frame. They've got recessed nuts. They're like a cool Diacomp GX. You can see here this gap. That means you have room for the pads to slide down the 4 millimeters you need from switching from 27 to 700. The front's got even more. It's all original. No point in taking them off. They're only worth like 10 bucks. So they're worth more to me as brakes. Unless, you know, I find a set of 600 to go with all that stuff, or get some dual reach Tektros to make them a little better. And there's some flat bar Tektro levers that I really like, which really make brakes work better on most bikes. So I might even make these old Diacomps perform just fine. They're not worth anything, so no point in taking them off for this time. But the cable's out of the way, because that's one of the other things I noticed about this bike. Oh, look at that. Look at all this movement. That's terrible. It means these brakes aren't adjusted at all. It's finger tight. It's a miracle these nuts didn't fall off. The brakes didn't explode while you're riding. So that's something to keep an eye out for. These adjustment nut and lock nut on your brake adjustment, they need to be on and tight too. Those things fall off. These arms will just fly apart. Springs will go in the middle of the street. Bike won't stop. I've definitely had it happen. Like I like to say, ask me how I know. Man, I really want a rubber mallet. Ha! I can whack this nice little chrome nut with this cheater bar because it's aluminum inside. Not going to damage the brakes. Here we want to be careful not to lose the tricky multi-piece quick release. It's got all sorts of levers and arms and a barrel adjuster and the actual barrel adjuster and the jam nut on it and blah, blah, blah. Don't lose hardware. Yeah, this one's crazy loose too. This bike was not ridden much. Nice amateur build, a couple of real expensive parts for no reason, and they don't even match. And everything's upside down or backwards or wrong. Cable and housing are all mangled. It doesn't look very smooth, like it's going to give good braking and no friction. It looks pretty mangled, like it's going to be crunchy and grindy and be fighting all your hand force. Squeezing twice as hard as you need to get half the performance. This one's... the front's also a little bit bent and mangled. This housing end's just cut real rough and grindy and sharp, not filed at all. Now if you see, this housing is pulling out pretty easy. This little brazed on, little double round guide on those two, not this middle one. It's because the middle ones are your crotches, you hop down from your saddle. So people who ride bikes that are slightly too big for them will land and bend on that more often than not, which is not good. So the correct thing to do is I'll get like a little punch or something to fill up that space and tap it with a hammer back into shape. Might even just use this housing. See if we can make this slightly less bad. Try to tap it round. That's less bad, but still not good. It's easier to see without the housing in the way. You can get it out and really look at it and see how it's all ovalized and mushed over this way. So really, yeah, a little hard round piece of metal, like a punch. I'm getting here and just try and bend this until it looks, these other ones, like a nice little U. It's my sweet Goodwill receipt. Got this sexy stem all the way slammed. As I unscrew it, this bolt's coming up. Oh, and there it goes down. Woo! Some people might have just watched my last video and know what happens when this bolt sticks. It doesn't go down. It can be bad news bears. This is a nice little short SR stem. People love them. It's been slammed, so it's got scuffs above the max insertion mark. But what I really care about is these fairly decent, a little scuffy, can't be brake lever. It's got these cheap Cane Creek replacement hoods, which will probably definitely fall apart when they come off. They always split on me. I tried to use them like twice and then just throw them away. And EuroAsia makes a great replacement hood for the old campy style. So go buy that instead, they're like 20 bucks. Someone's definitely been inside this headset and used a weird, maybe homemade spacer. It is way over tight or possibly dead. So maybe it's got to come off anyways because we got to bag it up so the bolts don't fall out. Recess nut, making everything so much less practical. It's harder to install fenders. You can kind of do it off the front side if you want, but you gotta mess with your brakes. I think this is just old grease. This old white lithium grease likes to dry like Loctite on bikes that are as old as I am. Oh yeah, from this angle you can really see how mangled that is. Might just use this Allen. Oh yeah. Ah, just stuck the Allen in. Just kind of just bend up and around a little bit. I think that solved it. Check it out. Yay! Now the housing slides in and out real easy without getting all mangled up. You know I'm getting this seat and post out, right? So this has been like lightly Scotch-Brighted or whatever to make it look clean and new, but it's definitely seen better days. You really can't see what size it's supposed to be. You can see every number is not important. I'm guessing it's 28.6. So I think these had like 1mm seat tubes. I'm guessing it's not 27.2. We'll have to try some other stuff and see. Of course the saddle's way too far back on this nice old turbo. Don't be bent. Dang, this saddle's light too. Holy shit, it feels like it's like tie light. No? Who knows, man? Well, that's it for now. I'm going to leave the frame and fork together just so I don't get lost. I put the brakes in Ziplocs just so the parts don't get lost. hopefully we decide to build this in the future and do a cool build video out of it. Well, thanks for watching my weird video about tearing down this Schwinn future project.